Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Mathews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Mathews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a hump day edition, a Wednesday edition of Mathews in the Morning, coming to you live from the International Diamond Center Studios, where jewelry purchases in June are 0% APR until 2030. The only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. We'll have JC here. If you missed it last night, your Stanley Cup champions are the Florida Panthers, back-to-back. Your Final Four in college baseball. You will have games today, I believe. Coastal plays Louisville. And then JC's favorite matchup, Arkansas and LSU. Let's go speak to JC about this on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, courtesy of Comfort. JC, should they be reseeding these people?
They should. Well, I think you could have made the case for it before the tournament, but it's okay because we knew that Arkansas or LSU's loser would get good odds and probably get through the loser's bracket to play again. And that is exactly what happened. Arkansas's pitching depth is outstanding, and that's why they're still alive, if you ask me. Gage Wood with the no-hitter, almost perfect game. You know, the only thing he talked about when they interviewed him was, what'd you think? And he first thing out of his mouth was, I shouldn't have hit that batter.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it would have been the first ever, the only perfect game.
It was a tremendous performance. He'll get another opportunity if they can get through LSU and break through to play either Coastal Carolina or Louisville. Looks pretty strong that Coastal Carolina is going to get that nod. I have them both pre-tournament with odds, but I think you're looking at Arkansas and LSU today, Coastal Carolina and Louisville later. And I think you'll see LSU and Coastal Carolina end up playing each other. It's not to say that Arkansas can't win two games. I mean, if it were the Gators playing and they had to win two games, we would certainly be optimistic about that, or at least the opportunity to win. Because if you win that first of two games, then really it's kind of like a coin flip, really, if you think about it. But maybe not. We'll see. LSU's a rested team, very, very impressive team. They just quietly get along their business, dude. They just quietly get. What are you laughing at?
Laugh at Tony on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Says, congrats to JC, a lifelong fan of whoever wins anything.
You're damn right. Well, listen, when you're betting on it, then you become a fan, Tony, as you well do know.
But JC,
go ahead.
Can we rewind to when the playoffs started? Tell me who the Panthers played in the first round of this.
Okay. It's documented on this podcast that they played the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. I went to that game.
Right.
And when I walked out, I immediately went to Hard Rock and got a bet down at 7-1 that the Panthers would win the Stanley Cup. That was the best odds I could get. And I have it all here. And
so you rooted against your team.
Well, I rooted against the team that I didn't think could win it. And Tampa Bay was not the team that could win it. And so I really believe that walking out of that arena, that's the truth. And Florida, they struggled with Toronto. There's no question about it. They fell behind 2-0 in the third game of the series against the Maple Leafs when they were down 2 games in that series and won the damn thing. Won it. And now it's going to be about the Florida Panthers trying to keep some of these players that are going to be in free agency, most notably the Conn Smythe winner, who is Sam Bennett, who had 15 goals. And throughout the playoffs was the best goal scorer for the Florida Panthers. The Panthers are 5 hours away. We never talk about hockey. We never talk about anything. But the state of Florida in hockey is a powerhouse. The Panthers are the third team in the salary cap era, QB, to win Stanley Cups. The others are the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016-17 and then Tampa Bay in 2021. And so you've got two teams within 5 hours or 4 hours of us right here that have 4 Stanley Cup championships in the National Hockey League. The Panthers led for 255 minutes and 49 seconds during this final against Edmonton. It's the second straight year they've beaten Edmonton. That is the most of any team in league history. So they were dominant And Edmonton clearly missed Zach Hyman. He was one of their best players. He got hurt. It really affected their depth,
JC,
and Florida exposed that.
let's don't act like you got guys from Naples and guys from Orlando playing on these teams.
No, these are just franchises in the state of Florida. We usually like to cover the Dolphins, the Jaguars. We talk about the Buccaneers. We talk about, well, we don't talk about the Heat or the Magic because they've been insignificant. But when you've got two teams that have won 4 Stanley Cups in the last 5 years, QB, that's pretty.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's great franchises.
For 4 out of
They built
last
their
6.
teams correctly.
Yes, they did.
Franklin asked on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. QB, when you lived in Mississippi, did you ever play any ice hockey? No, never.
Oh, and listen, neither did I. When I was growing up in Florida, we had one professional sports franchise in the state, just one. We had no NBA team, no NHL team, and one NFL team. So that's when I was growing up. It was a little bit earlier. But, in Mississippi, it's the same thing. You had the Saints and the Atlanta Braves. And the only reason you had the Atlanta Braves is because you could watch them on television. Atlanta wasn't like across the street. And
if you listen on the radio, you always got Jack Buck and the St. Louis Cardinals.
And you listen to them. But, the Braves on the radio had Skip Carey, Pete Van Wiering, and Ernie Johnson. Ernie Johnson's father, who is the Ernie Johnson on TNT with Shaq and Kenny and Charles.
The greatest show on TV.
It really is. I don't know how that's not renewed or continuing. They won Emmys, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, you've got a lot of things that you remember. And certainly in the state of Florida, we did not have professional sports growing up in the 70s and mostly in the 80s. We had the Gators, we had the Seminoles, and we had the Hurricanes. And that's what we had. And right now we get the Hurricanes in the 4th game of the season down there in Miami. And I was talking to a guy yesterday. Let me just shift gears for a second, QB. They were looking at the Florida schedule. 2 consecutive road games with LSU and Miami back-to-back. Then you've got 2 teams against Texas in successive weeks with the Longhorns here and the Aggies over there. And we all remember what the Aggies did to Florida here, but Florida's going to be a better team this year. And so hopefully depth will not be a problem by the time they get to that game in College Station because they will have already played Texas, Miami, and LSU, and not one team in the country has to do that. So that's going to be tough. But I'm still sticking to my 8 wins. I'm sticking to it.
On the Titan Mar text line from Frank in Chicago, he says, JC, you were all for the Panthers before the playoffs started, so I bet on them to win the cup. Thank you for your enthusiastic pick.
My man from Chicago has been watching. I love it. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that because, man, when I saw them play Tampa Bay, I looked over at my friends. I said, that team right there, you cannot score on them. And they have the best offensive lineup that I see in hockey. I watch this stuff. It's like, who is this guy that watches hockey in Gainesville, Florida? Well, you're damn right I watch it. It's like I'd rather watch that than April baseball. And so baseball now is all we got, starting with the College World Series today, and then MLB going into August, and then thank God we get to training camp, right, QB?
Absolutely. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, I got to see Jonathan India, Jack Caglione, and Wyatt Langford all play last night, KC versus Texas.
Awesome. That's great. That is great. Jonathan India is the forgotten Gator out there who starts for the Royals.
He's been playing forever.
I know, but nobody talks about him. It's always Wyatt Langford or Jack here lately for good reason. But Wyatt Langford hits 3rd in the Rangers lineup. Now, I think he's only batting 230, 240, but he's got production off that bat with RBIs and extra base hits. Extra bases are important for guys in the middle of the lineup. I take Freddie Freeman every night to get 1.5 total bases, it feels like. And I've won so many more games than bets than I've lost with Freddie Freeman getting 1.5 bases. Mookie Betts is another good one. Last night I had Jake Cronenworth. The guy steals bases. And then, you can look at so many different ways to prop your baseball games to make them more interesting for you. If you're just sitting there watching a 9-inning game on ESPN and wasting away with no action on it, I feel sorry for you. But that's the only way you can watch this stuff, dude. It's the only way I can watch it. And thank God for Hard Rock. And by the way, I found out there in the state of Illinois. So my friend in Chicago there that just texted the show can bet on Hard Rock. And that's what I would say is one option to FanDuel and DraftKings. And
so JC, if he signs up, don't you get a referral fee?
I do, but I don't know him or his name, but I don't need it. That's okay. I'm doing fine with the bonuses and the profit boosts and all the things that they give you. to add to your yield, so to speak. So that's your return on investment, which is also known as ROI, QB. Okay, we're into these acronyms nowadays. So what will be the ROI on LSU? Okay, there's 6 different letters I used right
Well,
there.
all I know is I went with the CCCs to win it all.
I got them at 6.5 plus 650. I mean, I took them.
Okay, so the PTs, the Pouncey twins, Mike and Marquise, invite you to try the mango martinis at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, handcrafted with their JF Hayden liqueurs. Try those flavors and find your favorite. Shop jfhaydens.com. What?
I thought the Pounces were selling tequila on the show here.
Nope, Urban sells tequila on the
program. Urban sells tequila. Wow, we're feeding the alcoholism of our.
Yes.
But I love that. Thank God. We've got tequila. We've got 1966 lager, a smooth lager to enjoy after a Florida victory or during or even before, right? And then you've got the Pouncies with their martini. Wow. I do enjoy watching these commercials with the Pouncies talking about their JF Hayden. What does JF Hayden say? Is that Joe Hayden?
No, not Joe. Maybe they're related, but JF Hayden liqueurs. I think they're the ones. I don't know. I just read it.
Didn't Joe Hayden and the Pounces play together on the
Yes.
Side? Yeah. But
it's not Joe Hayden.
Okay.
It's JF Hayden. Long lost cousin. All right, real quick on the Titan MR text line.
Go ahead.
This is from Bob. Bob says, did y'all see where South Carolina quarterback Lenard Celler's dad said he turned down $8 million to transfer to a different school?
I don't think I believe that.
I don't believe that one bit.
I don't believe that. I don't. $8 million? You're going to turn that down?
He's a good player.
Yeah, but
not a great player. He's feast or famine. He's a big dude now. But there's no way in hell anybody in their right mind said we will give you $8 million to come play quarterback for us. No way. Ain't no way. Think about this again. That's more than probably 20 of the 32 starting quarterbacks make in a year.
I think about this. This is just the stupidity of all this, the inanity of it.
Yeah.
And Sellers, big guy you just mentioned. Anthony Richardson was a big guy.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Could run the ball. Anthony Richardson can run the ball. Yeah, listen, South Carolina is better. There's no question they're going to be much better. I think they were one of the teams that could have made a case to maybe sneak in the playoffs. Now with the system going to 16 teams in 2026, teams like that might be able to slip in as an at-large. We're still going to have the same system as last year, except the seeding is going to be different, obviously, and we'll have those 12 teams seeded properly. Thank you for the seeding and properly seeded. And then, in 2026, I don't think there's any doubt that the league is good. The college football playoff is going to go to 16 games with a certain type of model that somehow is going to benefit the SEC and Big Ten because they create the most revenue and they are the biggest conferences. And if people don't like it, that's just too damn bad. Go sit there and watch your Minnesota Golden Gophers play football and win 6 games every year and quit belly aching about the SEC. So, I think that's what we're looking at in 2026. I think it's going to be great. I mean, I don't care about 4 automatic qualifiers. You know what that means? That means we're going to get 9 conference games in this league finally. And that's what I've been really pounding the table for years. I want to play Auburn. I want to play these teams. I want Georgia to have to go to Texas A&M once in a blue moon. Okay. That's how it happens. Otherwise, we're stuck on 8 and we're playing teams that and we're going to eventually have in the league. I've also read that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to start having scheduling arrangements, QB. I can mesh with that.
I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Well, I mean, look, Alabama played at Wisconsin last year. Wisconsin's coming to Alabama this year. I think that's good. I think that's really good. I want that. I want more of that kind of thing. I love the Alabama fans I talked to that went to Madison loved it. And I would have been one of those guys if they hadn't put the damn game on 11 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. I'm not a morning game guy. Sorry. I just, I won't take a trip and do that. But, Texas and Oklahoma or Ohio State this year are going to play SEC Big Ten in Columbus. And of course, everybody in Columbus is pissed the game's on at 12 noon. And so
we do not have to worry about that this year.
Now the Florida team doesn't. It's amazing. I think it's great.
So listen to this, JC, and I saw this. I meant to bring it up too. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, Vandy QB said on a podcast he turned down $4.5 million to stay at Vandy. He said after this season, Vandy will be the new standard in the SEC between wins and losses and how big their NIL is going to be. I don't know what Diego Pavia is drinking or eating, but again, if any other school offered him $4.5 million, they're clueless too. He's a very decent player. He ain't a great player. He ain't a guy he ain't worth 500,000 in today's market.
QB, I agree with you 100%, but you know what people are truly worth? It's kind of like houses. They're worth what
somebody's going to pay them.
That's it.
Right, but I don't believe one person. I don't believe that. I mean, I could go on a podcast right now and say that so-and-so is going to buy our podcast for $10 million, but I turned it down.
No,
nobody's going to know if that's true or not, right?
Right. Well, I mean, there is so much overpaying for these things. I mean, what kind of revenue will this guy generate if he gets paid $8 million for the South Carolina Gamecocks? All they got to do is lose to Arkansas one weekend, and all of a sudden now they're the South Carolina Gamecocks again, and we don't know about this quarterback, and somebody's on the hook for $8 million. It's kind of like what happened to that Iamale Ava guy at Tennessee. What was he getting paid, QB?
Well, reportedly he was getting like $8 million for his career when he came out of high school, which is still stupidity. I don't know. Regardless.
Okay.
We don't need to get into all this because we both think it's
asinine.
Stupid.
It's asinine. Asinine.
See, I wanted to bring this up, and we got to do golf picks, and we got a bunch of texts here I want to get to as well. But
all right.
I don't know why this always pops up on my feed. It seems like every morning when I wake up, but it's ridiculous. Have you seen what these girls do to Caitlyn Clark in their games?
I'm so sick of it. Yeah, I'm sick of it, man.
I've never seen a person. And I would like our people that watch this because I don't watch their games. I just see some of the highlights.
Sick of it, man. They hate
it. Might be the most dominating player I've ever seen at her sport. It's unbelievable.
It's the only reason people even turn it on. I mean,
right.
Who the hell was watching the WNBA before she showed up? I mean, she's the reason they got revenue flow. She's the reason why they've got
people in the seats,
private jets. This Angel Reese villain, she's a villain. They want to promote her, and she's awful compared to Caitlyn.
But she's the person that makes the league. And last night I saw one of her teammates, Sophie Cunningham, the big tall blonde on her team.
One that makes the league.
She retaliated. So it's just I've never seen anything like it.
Well,
I've never seen jealousy like what's being shown in that league, but I've never seen anybody dominate a league like she does.
In this game last night with Caitlyn Clark, I did see some of this, and the officials lost control of it.
Yeah.
It turns into a big cat fight that I'm not interested. I had no interest watching these girls just take cheap shots at this Caitlyn Clark. It's awful. It's not sports. It's roller derby. That's what it is, QB. You remember the old roller derby where they would just go by and catch an elbow, and the Detroit Devils against the Los Angeles Thunderbirds on roller derby, and these guys are just elbowing the hell out of each other. You couldn't even tell if it was real. But that's what this has turned into. I got no interest, zero interest in this. I wouldn't even bet on it. So that tells you how much I don't like it. And I feel bad because Caitlyn Clark is the best thing that's ever happened to that league. And frankly, is the only reason why anybody watches that league. It's the truth. I mean, it's crazy. She sells out every arena they go to. Right. It's not the Brittany Grinders of the world or anybody like that. It's Caitlyn Clark. It's the reason why people even know about the Indiana. What are they? The Fever or something?
The Fever, baby.
Please.
I think, JC, I'm very disappointed you don't have a number 22 Fever jersey.
Well,
would you wear it if we got you one?
No.
Why not? She's the best player in the she's the best player in the league.
Oh yeah, no, I support Caitlyn Clark. I'm a Caitlyn Clark backer, as they say. Absolutely.
All right, text on the Titan More text line. This is for you, JC.
Okay.
Bart in Richmond, Virginia.
Wow, Richmond, Virginia chiming in. God bless these people.
I wonder if he likes the Spiders too.
Okay.
He says, "What are your favorite win totals for the SEC this year?"
Well, I mentioned Florida at 8. I'd have to look at it, and
Well, Florida's 6.5, I think.
No, that's why I said I love that winning 8 games for Florida. If the 6.5 number is the number, I'm jumping on that. And I'm jumping on it because of the depth that's going to improve up front and in the running back room and in the wide receiver room, and with the quarterback hopefully staying healthy. And Napier's going to call games that will basically try to hopefully protect him in many cases if he is kind of tipsy there. I don't know. I love Florida. If you're going to give him 6.5, I would absolutely go over that. And in fairness, I appreciate the question in Richmond, and I will have more for you on Friday because I have not looked at win totals for the SEC, but I will write that down and have that on Friday. And
Look at JC doing homework.
We will have, I'll give you 3 or 5 picks of who I think goes over their total in the SEC on Friday. I'm going to write this down, and thank you for texting and watching our show in the great Commonwealth of Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin, and certainly in Richmond, home of Michael Vick. And
He's not from Richmond.
No, he's from Virginia Beach. Norfolk. Yeah. Okay.
Norfolk.
So, but
he's their head football coach now.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it's close to Richmond. Anyway, thank you for the text. I'll get that for you on Friday. But I'm definitely taking Florida over 6.5. That is a absolute play. A lot of times I don't like doing futures that are 4 months out for cash because I just hate people holding my money and not getting anything for it. That's
Right.
why I never withhold taxes. I always pay at the end of the year. People think that's a bad idea. In many cases, I guess you could say it is, but I don't want people holding my money and not giving me something for it ever, ever, ever. So.
All right, another text here on the Titan and Mar text line from Gary. He says, "Hey guys, who do y'all think has more pressure on them this year? Billy Napier, Hugh Freeze, Kalen DeBoer, or Brian Kelly?"
Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to go with Hugh Freeze, and I'm going to go with Brian Kelly.
Yeah, that's
a really good question, and you could throw Billy in there. I don't think DeBoer is in danger in year 2.
Well, I wouldn't say, yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think last year went that great in year 1 because who you lost to, right?
Absolutely, 100%, no doubt. They had some good wins. They did blow out LSU. They did beat Georgia, but they only won 9 games. That's not going to make it there. But following Nick Saban is an impossible chore. I mean, it's kind of like following Spurrier here at Florida. It was hard to do. But in fairness, I think you got to give them a couple more years, and they will. They will. They're not that unreasonable, even though people like who you hear on the Feinbaum show, if you even bother watching that anymore, make you think that Alabama fans are unreasonable. The most of them are not. It's just that fringe element that you get that's kind of with every school you have. But it's amplified at Alabama because it's Alabama, because of dumb shows like the Feinbaum show and so on and so forth. But I don't mind Paul taking calls. I think it's great. But, man, what he entertains there is just not worth listening to. Now, as far as that question goes, I do think Hugh Freeze, though, is number 1 because I think Auburn is one of those schools that has very little they've got their patience threshold has gone to 0. And maybe that's their own fault. I mean, they didn't give that guy from Idaho much time, but he was not their guy. He should never have been hired there. And so, Freeze did not overwhelm anybody with the way Auburn's played here. So we'll see. I think they'll be better. I don't know how they can't be better. I don't know how they could be worse at Auburn.
I mean, I don't know who has the most pressure. I think all 4 of those.
Brian Kelly, listen, they're not thrilled with him either.
Right. They have a lot of talent, especially offensively. It's a big year for LSU, and obviously, what have they lost, like 5 straight openers or something like that, and they played Clemson.
Yeah, they lost to Florida State 2 years in a row. Alabama ran 40 up on them. USC beat them, for God's sakes. I mean, it's not LSU football the way that they're.
Yeah, so I've said this multiple times.
Florida blew them out last year.
There's 3 teams in the SEC that I think can be the surprise team. I'm not saying they're going to win the conference, but I think they're going to surprise some people. I think Auburn is one. I think Auburn is loaded at wide receiver.
Okay.
They played really good defense the last couple of years. They just had no quarterback play. I think Jackson Arnold is a huge, huge upgrade.
I
think he struggled a little bit here and there at OU,
Yep.
but I think in a new system, he was one of those.
Yeah.
I almost called him McDonald's All-American. He was one of those elite 11 quarterbacks, highly recruited. I just don't know how they can get any worse.
I agree with that.
And then I think Oklahoma because Venables is going back to taking over the defense, which he does well.
Yeah.
And they brought in a offensive coordinator who brought his quarterback, who's really good, John Mateer out of Washington State. And they got a really good running back transfer from Cal. I think Oklahoma, they got a hard schedule too. I mean, everybody does.
Everybody does.
But I think they're going to be much, much better. And obviously, I think Florida is the other team.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like those three you picked. And I don't think South Carolina's going to sneak up on anybody because of last.
Well, I wouldn't call them sneaking up because they were
they won 9 games
of the playoffs last year,
yeah,
right?
They won 9 games. I think they won 9 last year. That's unheard of. And Tennessee, is still going to be a team to keep your eye on. I just like Heupel. I've always liked him as a coach. He finds ways to pull out games, and they're not, and then, I know we talked about Diego Pavia earlier, but as long as he's playing for Vanderbilt, they're competitive. There were years where they wouldn't even be competitive. They're very competitive in certain cases.
I agree, but JC, we can do this another time, but okay. I think Diego Pavia, I've said this a lot of times, I always call him the poor man Tim Tebow.
I get it.
He's a competitor, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't throw great. He ain't real big, but he's tough and finds ways to win games.
Best thing they've had at Vanderbilt in a long time.
But if you look at the list of the quarterbacks, like in the SEC, and I don't have them in front of me, I'd be curious where you pick Diego Pavia, in that list of 16 quarterbacks. So, all right. We got a bunch of texts today. This is switching gears. This is Roger in Philadelphia.
What? Pennsylvania or Mississippi?
Well, I don't know about that. It could be if he is in, well, both places are dumps. But Philly has some good golf courses. Both of them do.
I know some good friends in Philadelphia, PA.
I know. Good cheesesteaks. He said, I would assume he is in Pennsylvania because of the question. He says, do you think Daniel Jones will start for the Colts?
Oh, he's definitely in Pennsylvania. I do actually think that. Yeah, I do.
I do too.
I think that because, what else do they offer there? I think
Anthony's hurt. I think it's a big year for Shane Steichen, right?
It is. And I'll tell you about Philadelphia real quick. We all know this, that the Eagles fans are everywhere. My son was in Edmonton last week. He saw Eagle fans there in their green uniform. They're everywhere, these Eagle fans, and they have a lot of reasons to celebrate. So, it's a passionate town. We'll just call it that.
Clint has a question real quick before we move on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says, JC, if I bet here in Florida on Hard Rock and go back to Georgia, will I be in clear?
No, you cannot. You cannot. The location settings will block you from being able to place a bet outside of the state of Florida.
Yeah, but if he's here, he can place it. And then when
no. If you're in the state, you can. And I just learned that Hard Rock is available in 7 other states, including Arizona, Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey. Hard Rock is it's maybe.
And 31M Bird wants to know, do you get paid by Hard Rock?
I wish we did. I'd love to get a sponsorship. Freddie, come on, Freddie, call him up. You're the best, Freddie. You're the best at getting this thing sold, man.
Andy says, I'm gonna get your thoughts on this, JC, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Malaw. What are the chances that Shadur Sanders starts in Cleveland week 1?
I'd say
25%. I'm putting 0.
0. Well,
hang on a second. Who are the other quarterbacks there? I know Dylan Gabriel, him. What veteran do they have?
Flacco.
Oh, Flacco's going to start.
Well, at some point in a 17-game schedule, I bet you he starts the game.
So they have Flacco, Shadur, Dylan Gabriel. Is that it? No, they got Jameis Winston, don't they?
They have no. He's in New York. They have Deshaun Watson.
He's still there?
He's still there. Well, they're paying him 300 something ridiculous.
He's like Bobby Bonilla.
Oh, he's got the greatest contract on earth. That doesn't. Him and Jimbo Fisher, right? Jimbo Fisher is the smartest negotiator in contract history, and Ross Bjork is the biggest sucker in contract history. But somehow he got a job at Ohio State, and Jimbo Fisher has no job and is still getting paid $7.5 million for the next 5 years. So God bless them. If they can work that out, it's America. But I think it's asinine. I think it's like paying some quarterback in the SEC $8 million. It doesn't make fiscal sense to me. But money is everywhere. That is a fact. Right. But yeah, Jameis is in New York, and Deshaun Watson. So listen, I think at some point I guess getting back to the question, is the Shador going to start? Probably not, like you said, but at some point during the year,
He'll probably
like
play.
week 9, they may throw him out there against the Bengals.
When they're 1-8.
Right. They may throw
No.
him out there against the Bengals. Absolutely.
Kevin on the Titan Mar text line says, I got one for you guys. If the SEC went to 9 games this year,
Yeah.
who would you want to add to the schedule?
Yeah,
Mine would be Auburn.
100. Yeah, we said that earlier. I want to see him play Auburn. By the way, for all you geography fans out there,
We know Auburn's closest.
Auburn University is in a different time zone, but is geographically the closest school to the University of Florida. That is true. That is a fact. And as Charles Barkley would say, the University of Auburn, but he wouldn't say that. He would call it Alabama University. So I'm going to call it the University of Auburn.
University of Auburn.
There you go, Charles. But yeah, Auburn is the closest one.
All right. It's time for our Peachland Dental picks. Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com.
Travelers.
Golf tournament we got this week, JC?
Travelers. It's a signature event.
It's a signature event, so everybody's playing.
It's crazy. Usually after a major, you do not get guys coming back the following week to compete, but you got a great field. This is up at River Highlands in Connecticut. It used to be called the Greater Hartford Open back when you were growing up, but now it's a much more fancy golf course. It's Travelers Championship, baby. Insurance is everywhere in Connecticut. It's like the biggest state in the country for insurance companies to base. So the Travelers is a huge company, and you're going to get to watch that this weekend. So I'm going to go with. Am I Well, you had.
I finished hot, so
Yes,
I get the first pick.
Better picks. So go ahead.
I'm going to take a guy. It seems like he plays good in this every year. I believe. I'm taking the captain.
Okay, Keegan Bradley. And he does. And I think this was his last win because remember how emotional he got being a golfer from Massachusetts who had dreams and this and that, never got to play during the day because it's always dark early and blah, blah, blah. So Keegan Bradley did win this tournament. It was special to him in New England. God bless him. And I'm happy that he's the captain of the U.S. team.
He's going to be a good captain.
I think he's going to be a great captain. I think it's going to be a really great Ryder Cup for this United States because it's going to be at Bethpage Black, and that's going to be a raucous and crazy environment. And I think that's one of the hardest courses in the history of the world. They said Oakmont was one of the hardest courses. You could say Bethpage Black is right there with Oakmont if they want it to be, meaning rough and so on and so forth, the length and everything. I'm going to take this is kind of a crap show. I didn't really look hard at this. I should have because I was watching hockey and college baseball, and I love both of that. But I'm going to take this guy who has been on the leaderboard, hasn't broken through, but this could be one of those tournaments, and that's going to be a guy named Denny McCarthy who finds himself in the top 20s every week.
Yeah,
so I'm taking
very good putter.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama.
Okay, and I'm going to take Brian Harmon.
Oh, you're taking the straight hitters that can putt.
I like those guys.
I'm gonna go with the Norwegian. Had a chance last week. Really good ball striker. Hit a few bad shots here and there.
Okay.
Victor Hovland.
He really did, and his odds were massive going into last week. And when I got JJ Spawn at plus 1750 after the first round, Hovland was like 30-1, and I should have taken him, but I did get him in top 10. All right, I'm going to go with I kind of like. I'm going to go with some names that just don't make a lot of sense, but you never know. This is a tournament that they could show up on. I'm going to take J. The hell's the name? Poston. JT Poston. Yep. I've got
very good putter. Excellent putter.
Yep. JT Poston.
I'm going to go with one of the straight hitters as well from England, Aaron Rye.
Like that.
He just
give me a guy who's kind of resuscitated his career here in the last couple of weeks, and that's going to be Cameron Young. Hits it a mile. Give me him.
He actually made putts last week.
Top 3 in U.S. Open, man. I think that gets you back next year without having to be invited. I think that's right.
And I got to take one South Korean, so I'm going to go with the youngin, one of the young ones, Woo Kim.
And my last pick will be the guy who was second last week. Could have easily won it.
Robert
McIntyre playing great golf. This is getting to be the time of year he really kicks it in now because it's about to go overseas for the British Open and the Scottish Open. He won the Scottish Open last year. It was one of the best victories of on tour, a Scot winning the Scottish Open. So,
Yeah. All right,
I'm
so
sorry. What was your pick again? The last one?
Siwoo.
Oh, Sue. Okay.
All right, to recap the Travelers Peachland Dental picks. My squad is Keegan Bradley, Hideki Matsuyama, Victor Hovland, Aaron Rai, and Siwoo Kim.
Very international type.
You ain't lying. I got one American on my roster.
Yeah, you do.
You have lots of Americans.
I'm going with him this week in Hartford.
Yes, you're going with Denny McCarthy,
Yeah.
Brian Harmon, JT Poston, Cam Young, and Robert McIntyre.
Yeah, from Scotland. I like that. I got two lefties, QB. Two lefties on the card here.
You do.
So, Brian Harmon and Robert. I tell you, McIntyre slipped in that top three, top two last week. He just slipped in there, and it was tied when JJ drove the green on 17. What a turn for Spawn, man. I'm just so thrilled for him. And he really deserved it after that collapse of TPC and sudden death against Rory, or in the playoff against Rory, I should say, and really came back after 5 birdies on the first 6 holes. That was just true mental toughness. If I can't say anything.
Tony says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, our only chance at winning the Ryder Cup is the home field advantage. The U.S. He says the U.S. will get smoked if they set it up like Oakmont. They will have Beth Page playing very easy, low rough, and easy pin placements. Well, I agree with that.
I'm all for it. Beth.
You gotta remember, Beth Page Black is a public golf course.
Absolutely, right there in Long Island. It should be an advantage for the Americans. This is they're the home team, and I think the U.S. Open next year is also on Long Island at Shinnecock. I want to say so. Shinnecock's another one of those ridiculously hard courses with just tough areas to you don't want to be in. So that'll be great for next year. Yeah.
Last text here on the Titan Mark text line from James. He says, JC, who do you have winning in baseball today? I assume he's talking college.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Arkansas, but I don't see them beating LSU twice. Today, I'm going to take
Arkansas. Well, they don't have to beat them twice today.
You're right. I'm going to take Arkansas today at plus odds, and I'm going to go with definitely with Coastal Carolina. Louisville's a good story. I got them at 25-1. I can't see them beating that Chanticleers. By God, you better say Chanticleers. That coach got on the media's ass. You don't call them Chanticleers. It's Chanticleers. So, yeah, he's very defensive about that. So we'll ride him, and we'll ride Arkansas today, and that means they're going to play again tomorrow, Arkansas.
What do you know what's so special about that kind of chicken, JC?
No,
I don't either. I'm just curious.
Well, Gamecocks in Columbia and Chanticleers are in Conway. So South Carolina's full of chicken, and it's my favorite thing to eat. So God bless them.
I love chicken.
I do love chicken.
This is a good text. I meant to bring this one up. I just picked and chose today.
Okay.
This is from Larry. Larry says, if you guys were in charge of the $20.5 million that you're allowed to give out to athletes,
I know exactly what I'd do with it.
How would you divide it up?
Well, and so the rule states you can pretty much pick how you spend it, right?
I believe so.
Well, then the non-revenue folks will hate this, but I'm going to basically spend 80% of it on football and 20 on basketball. That's just the way I would do it. I mean, to me, without football, the rest of it is struggling. You have to be successful in football. Now, TV contracts take care of a lot of that, but football to me is the identity for us in the South, and basketball is for smaller schools in other places. Well, I'm not worried about other places. I worry about where I live, and that's in the South. And in the South, it is football, football.
I should know this. That $20 million is coming from the leagues basically because of your TV contracts and all that stuff, right?
I thought the schools had to fork out the money, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe they do, but well, it comes from their budget, I believe. Yeah, so
that's why Tennessee raised football prices.
So when you look at the Big East in basketball, Creighton, Villanova,
they don't have the same requirements. They don't have the same.
Do they? Yeah, most of those schools don't. Well, they don't play football. I mean, they play small.
They don't have the same numbers that they have to produce. No, I don't.
Right, but what I'm saying is they could take $20 million if they wanted and pay their basketball team.
They could.
Yeah,
they could. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where. You just have to, I think, prioritize, and some folks don't get what others get. That's just the world. That's how it works sometimes. Not everybody's equal, and not everybody's going to get the same thing. If you don't get the football program right, in my opinion, in the SEC specifically, everything else is just kind of there. But I think football pays for everything, and
Well, they do. They pay for everything.
And so protect your nest egg, your goose egg, your golden goose, and that to me is football. So again, I'd go 70 to 80% on that, and the other to basketball, and maybe a smaller percentage to the baseball program that's now fully scholarship, and maybe some to the other programs that win, that are successful, that have coaches that cost a lot of money. Whatever it is, there should be a little leftover money for that, but you've got to put the majority of the pot into football, period.
So Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mello, 20 million comes from the budget. Strickland had all sports cut their budgets 5% to fund the 20 million.
There you go. I mean, that's, and then some schools raise prices to try to help that as well. Tennessee raised their ticket prices 15 some odd percent, I believe. So, you get 100,000 folks in there, 15% pay hike or ticket raise is it's pretty good revenue there. But it is something that these athletic departments had to plan for and adjust for, if you will. And that's just the way life is. It's called life, folks. It really is. It's just the way it is.
So Franklin says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality, Chanticleer is a literary name for a rooster. We knew that, yeah. Okay. Particularly the proud and boastful one in Chaucer's The Nun's Priest's Tale.
Oh, outstanding little literature.
Full thing, here. All right, JC.
All right, man.
Have a good day.
Get a blood work done at Quest Diagnostics. Got to get that PSA down.
Hopefully you're not taking steroids, JC. You may get suspended.
Oh dear. Okay.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. We'll be back. You're watching and listening. PodUp with Mathews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Meals Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Become a member and see why Gators hate love bugs. I want to thank JC for joining us. Text here from Daryl on the Titan Mart text line says, "Good morning. The NFL season hasn't even started yet, and the local Jacksonville media has already burned me out on Travis Hunter." Not surprised. We'll see. He's a good player. I'm anxious to see if they try to play him both ways. I'd put him on defense and tell him to stay over there. Greg says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, have JC put on a Caitlyn Clark jersey and send him to the middle of LA protest and see what happens. Well, people protesting out there shouldn't be probably in the country, honestly. It's that simple. If you missed it, you got the Final Four baseball today. LSU, Arkansas has to beat LSU twice to get to the championship series. Same with Louisville. They will be playing Coastal Carolina. I think Coastal Carolina, Louisville's the first game, and then LSU, Arkansas, the nightcap. I still think Coastal Carolina is going to win it all. I think their pitching is phenomenal. Okay, we got a text message on the Titan MR text line from John. John says, QB, can you please explain to me how these high school recruits, I know some of them, high school football players, that are getting offers and have yet to take a snap in a high school football game? Yeah, that happens a lot. And just because they're getting offers, those are not legit offers. What happens is, if you show up at a camp at one of these, which a lot of colleges are having their camps right now, it may be the bloodlines from another brother or what have you, or your father may have played there. If a kid shows up and he's a good sized kid and he's 15, 16 years old, coaches may say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and offer him. Doesn't mean we have to honor it, but we're going to offer him because he could turn into a great player and we can say, hey, we were one of the first to offer you. But there are a lot of players that I know, and I've seen over the years get offers from schools and have yet to take a snap in a high school football game. And they end up not getting those offers when their career was over. So it's a weird dynamic, no doubt about it. But just because you get offers, they're not concrete offers like they were back in the day. So that's about it. Let's see, I had another text come in here. Let me read it real quick. Yeah, we've already kind of discussed that. Barry says on the Titan MR text line, Shane, have you been out to any practices? What can you tell us is going on? Well, they're not really practicing. What they do now, like I said, a lot of camps are going on at all the different universities. They just do their normal workouts, lifting, running, and then they'll go out and do their different individual drills and things of that nature. I will not go watch any of that stuff. It's all in shorts, no helmets, nothing. So I will wait and till they crank up. I don't know if they're going to start at the end of July or the first part of August. I haven't seen the exact dates yet. Greg says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Felipe Franks was an Elite 11 QB also. Yeah, a lot of those Elite 11 QBs don't pan out. I remember a few years ago, I want to say it was when Deshaun Watson, whatever year he came out, the top 15 quarterbacks in that class, I think somebody sent it to us and we discussed it on this program. Maybe it was the top 10. Only like 8 of the 10 ever took a snap in a college football game. So you never know how it's going to play out. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Text from Bob on the Titan MR text line. Shane, do you know anything about the baseball commits and softball commits that we have been getting in the last couple of weeks? I don't know anything about them. People are jumping around so much. If people missed it, Mia Williams ended up at Texas Tech. Texas Tech probably has the highest payroll in softball. Them in Oklahoma would be my guess, along with Texas. So But Tim Walton and Sully, they'll have us a good baseball and softball team next year, no doubt about that. Florida Victorious, proud NIL partner of the Florida Gators, joined today to help make Florida victorious. Don't forget, if you got any youngsters in North Central Florida, or you can drive up from the South, on July the 12th at Santa Fe High School, where Ernest Graham is the head football coach, they're going to have the Florida Community Football Camp. A lot of former Gators will be running that camp. You got to be from 6 years old to 12 years old. We'll get more and more information on that as we get closer. Andy says, Andrew Whittemore seems to be getting a lot of college offers. How does he compare to his brothers? I've never seen Andrew play. He's never played in a high school game, but he's big. He's about 6'5", I think, as a 10th grader. I don't know if he's a 10th grader or a junior. Really good golfer, by the way. Really good golfer. So that's going to do it for today's program. Tomorrow we'll have Brent Beard and we'll have Dr. Pete Indelicato, which I talked to Dr. Pete the other day. He brought up a good point. A lot of these team doctors don't want to have to do surgeries on these college athletes now because a couple of people I think have lost some lawsuits because you come back from ACL tear or shoulder and you're not the same player. They're blaming the doctors on this. So it's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward. If a team doc says, look, I'm not going to operate on this guy. But Dr. Pete will fill us in on all that. So it's very, very interesting in today's world. So have a great day, folks. Enjoy the baseball.